All right, you guys, welcome back to the DM and Friends. I am DM Angelo, and we are rolling right along on our Weird Gear Chronicles. Last week we talked about flour and how that you can use that in the dungeon crawl against visible monsters and stuff like that. Well, today we're going to be leaving the kitchen and stepping somewhere a little bit darker. Today we're going to be talking about Wolfsbane. And now if a modern D&D player sees Wolfsbane Sprig in their equipment list, right? They'll probably think that it's a potion ingredient or a bit of atmospheric flavor. Well, but in classic Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, this little sprig of purple flowers is one of the most important survival tools that you can carry, especially if your campaign takes you anywhere near a dark forest or a cursed village or a dungeon with a lycanthropy problem. So before we get into the game, let's talk about what Wolfsbane actually is in the real world, because Gary Gygax didn't invent this. Obviously, he pulled it straight out, from history, and the history is kind of extraordinary. Wolfsbane scientific name is Aconitum Napellus, and I'm probably totally pronouncing that incorrectly because I did look it up and I couldn't get it right, but it's also called monk's wood, monk's hood, or aconite. I think that's spelled correctly too, or pronounced correctly. It is one of the most poisonous plants of all of Europe and Asia. Every single part of it is toxic. The flowers, the roots, the seeds, the leaves. The active component is called, I think it's called aconite, Aconitine, aconine. Yeah. And it doesn't even need to be ingested, right? It could absorb directly into your skin. And you don't want to handle this plant with your bare hands. The Roman writer Pliny, the elder, called it the most prompt of all poisons. It attacks both the nervous system and the heart simultaneously. It destructs the electrical signals your heart needs, right? To beat, and it can kill you within minutes of a significant dose. So, the Greeks and Romans used it to poison weapons. It was used for executions. The Romans even had a kind of a dark, affectionate nickname for it. It was funny when I found this out. It was called mother-in-law's poison. So now, where does the name Wolfsbane come from? Wolfsbane come from? The Greek physician, what's his name? Dioscortes, I think. Dioscortes, wrote in first century that hunters would grind the root into raw meat to bait and kill wolves, right? And it was literally the bane of wolves. But here's where the folklore gets a little incredible, because wolves and werewolves were generally feared in medieval Europe, right? The plant's reputation shifted around the Middle Ages. People began associating this wolf killer with supernatural protection against werewolves. And some folklore even went darker still, claiming that that contact with Wolfsbane could actually trigger a transformation into a werewolf. The plant was tied to shape-shifting from both sides. In Greek mythology, Wolfsbane was said to have first grown from the toxic saliva of Cerberus. Yeah, is that how you pronounce it? Cerberus. the three-headed hound that guarded the gates of the underworld. And when Hercules dragged him up into the world of the living, the drool of the hound, of the hell's the hound, guard dog, hound, whatever you want to call him, Cerberus, is what spawned Wolfsbane, and that's the origin story that worthy of any dungeon item, right? So that's kind of the history that I found when I did some research on this. Yeah, so let's move on to the kind of this in the player's handbook, right? I always want to talk about the cost of this. So right here in AD&D First Edition Player's Handbook, this guy right here, this is my play copy of it. That's all weather worn and all that. A sprig of Wolfsbane is 10 silver pieces, and that's on page. Where is it at? I want to show this. I want to actually show this to you. It's on page. I think it's on page 36. But yeah, it's 10 silver pieces. Compare that to other herbs on the same list, like garlic, or, which is 5 copper, right? Belladonna, which is like 4 silver. Wolfsbane is 10 silver pieces, is kind of the most expensive one that's in the player's handbook. And I take that back. It was on page 35 on the bottom here. Brain fart. But anyways, so it's on the expensive side. 10 silver pieces is basically half a gold, right? So because 20 silver equals a gold. So very expensive, and for a reason, right? Because it's it's collecting it and is toxic, all that stuff. So the price the price is telling us something. It's rare, it's dangerous, and it does something significant, right? So in old school D&D, you don't blow 10 silver on something without a reason, right? Especially when you're low levels. But when you understand what it really does, and what's at stake here, that 10 silver pieces feels like it's the best money your character probably spent, right? Besides buying that 10-foot pole. So let's talk about some of the mechanics, and these are in various places in the rule books. So what does Wolfsbane actually do in the game? So let's talk about it in the Dungeon Master Guide, right? So Gary puts very specifically in the DMG. He talks about lycanthropy rules, and they're pretty brutal, right? So if a human character is bitten by a werewolf or some kind of werebear, wereboar, whatever, all the wares out there, and that bite accounts for 50% or more of their actual hit points, they have a 100% chance of contracting the disease, right? No saving throw. It happens and the clock starts immediately, right? So some DMs can say the next full moon they'll turn into it, whatever. However you guys want to play it. The DMG gives you a short emergency window where Belladonna, right, which is I'm going to cover in the next episode, can be eaten within an hour for a 25% chance of stopping the disease cold. But that window closes. You need a 12th level or higher cleric to cast Cure Disease within 3 days, right? Something like that. Miss that. The last resort is a month-long treatment at a monastery or abbey, right? And here's where Wolfsbane comes in. The DMG, specifically specifies that the clerics administer holy water laced with Wolfsbane and Belladonna, consumed twice daily for from a silver chalice. I mean, so specific here. Wolfsbane isn't just a deterrent. It is a little component of the cure. It's woven into the entire lycanthropy kind of treatment chain from start to finish, right? because the cure, Wolfbane functions as a monster ward. Also, it thrusts at a werewolf presented directly. It causes a creature to recoil. It won't kill it, but it creates distance. And in the dungeon crawl, where every round kind of matters, right? Buying yourself space from a werewolf, right, is the difference between a bad night and a total party kill, right? So practical uses, and I came up with a bunch of uses that collection from you guys and from me. I want to talk about a couple of them that I've seen in my dungeon mastering career. So number one, I've seen it used as a doorway ward, right? So maybe your party suspects a kind of like a werewolf or where something is lurking in the next room, right? Before you open that door, you crumble dried wolfsbane across the threshold, or you hang it above it like wood mistletoe or something like that. A werewolf that recoils from that will recoil from that herb and not past that threshold, right? You just turn 10 silver pieces into a defensive perimeter, right? No spell slot required there. So another one was weapon wrapping. I've seen this happen before. Before entering a dungeon where that there's werewolves or werebears in, you tie a sprig of wolfsbane on the to the pommel of your weapon and wrap it around your shield arm or something like that. When you close into melee, excuse me, the creature is going to be fighting through its natural aversion to the herb, right? So you have to figure out what that mechanic looks like. DMs, that's up to you how that works. But it might create some kind of hesitation from them or ward them back, fully. So here's another one too, kind of the passive deterrent, right? Carry a sprig on your person, tuck it in your belt pouch, sewn in the, cloak lining or something like that, pinned to your hat. You're not, waving it around like a torch, but you're just making yourself less, appetizing to a werewolf, right? That wants to get close enough and maybe smell it, and maybe they'll stay away from you, right? Maybe it's you can call it maybe an old school repellent, right? And I have seen this carried this way too. There's another one, the emergency cure pack. This one kind of requires some advanced planning, right? By buying Wolfsbane before you go into a lycanthrope territory, right? Not after someone gets bitten, right? When the worst thing happens, you want to already have it in your pack, ready to hand to the nearest cleric. When you drag your wounded party member to the monastery, the clerics will charge you for the herbs anyways, but maybe you have it already, right? Bring your own ingredients. So here's another way that I've also seen it too, is kind of bluffing, right? So your party's covered is cornered by a werewolf with no other options, right? Someone pulls out a sprig and holds it up. The creature recoils, right? You back towards the exit. You don't have to fight anything or in the dungeon, right? Sometimes Wolfbane is your get out of jail free card. So it only costs you that silver, 10 silver. You could just use it to kind of keep the distance and retreat. So another way too is, if you allow, as a DM, if you allow this, maybe your players want to create poisons with it. And that could be, like we talked about earlier in the video, mixing it with, some type of ingested or on weapons, like I said that the Romans used to do. So if you're a DM that allows that, Wolfsbane could be added to your campaign in that way as kind of a laced on your weapon too. So there's a lot of different ways to use Wolfsbane. So, you know, now the catch, right? The catch, and here's something that I've always kind of done in this series, right? Wolfbane is a dried herb, you know, a sprig. It's fragile, it's organic, unlike iron spikes or a grappling hook, you know, that could, you know, will maintain its form in your backpack, you know. It exactly is a one-use case, right? You carry it specifically for werewolves and such. If your dungeon never puts you within, you know, 100 feet of werewolf, you spent 10 gold pieces on nothing, right? But it's better to be prepared, right? Also, another thing too, you know, I would be like, have the players need to be cautious about handling it too, or, you know, risk exposure of some sort. You know, that could be a real big thing too. The other thing, you know, obviously fire would burn it up. You know, it's fragile. It's a fragile piece. So you're gonna have to figure out where you put it cautiously, because you don't want it to just be, you know, rolling around and, you know, you touch it, right? Also, it's a fragile piece that could go up in smoke, or, you know, I don't know about getting wet or anything like that, but, you know, so it needs to be protected in multiple ways. All right, well, you know, kind of in closing, you know, Wolfbane perfectly, I think it captures what this entire series is about. You know, it's rooted in real history going back to ancient Greece. It's priced to signal its importance. It's more on the expensive side, right? Its mechanics are brutal and elegant in the same time. And the players who carry it, who brought it before they needed it, and are the ones who get to walk out of the dungeon instead of waking up in a ditch 3 nights later with no memory of what happened, and ripped clothes, and their wife dead down the street, or at home because they're a werewolf and didn't remember killing everybody. So I don't know. So next week, you guys, we're staying right here in the world of herbs and monster defense, because Wolfsbane has a partner that I talked about a minute ago, a plant that's gonna, you know, it's right there on the same page. We're gonna be talking about Belladonna in all of its uses. And I know you've heard of it. I want to talk about that more, and as a weird gear. It was put in the player's handbook in the section on page 35, where you could buy, yep, I'm going to fold my player's handbook, where you could buy it right here on the bottom. It was there for a reason. So we're going to talk about it next week. We're going to see why Gary put it in there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's got its roots even to before AD&D. Maybe it was in the player's list, equipment list in OD&D. I can't remember. I have to check that. Maybe one of you guys can tell me in the comments. I'll have to just go look, but I don't remember or recall. All right, you guys. Well, that's Wolfsbane. And if you got a great story about lycanthropy and that wrecked your party because you didn't have Wolfsbane, or about how Wolfsbane saved your party, put it in the comments. I read every single comment, and I love, and I try to comment to all of them. So, and I love swapping those war stories from the community. You know, and if you're enjoying the Weird Gear Chronicles series, hit that like button, subscribe, share it with your gaming group, and hype it if you're watching on mobile. You know, I am DM Angelo. This is the DM and Friends. I love Advanced Dungeons and Dragons right here. I love you guys, and take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Until next one, guys. Bye-bye.